Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Scottish Football Social Club and Premier Sports in association with McBookie after a weekend full of drama in which Alan apparently finally recovered from those big celebrations in Las Vegas. Apparently the Premier Sports Cup final, Michael, was nothing. It was a breeze for him compared to that stateside trip. You're back, right? You're back with us.
Honestly, what chance have I got? You miss one night and you're just going to get hammered with it forever. Well, you have at my age, you need a day off at some stage from nights out. So, hold my hands up, is what it is.
No, listen, he's well back. He's more than back. But I think it's a quick stock-taking exercise to begin because, Mr. Hutton, are you okay after yesterday? How was the heart rate? Has it calmed a little?
It's calmed. I mean, what a game of football to be like commentating on and be involved with. I mean, it had everything. It was exciting. Obviously, it went the whole way with the penalties. It was so good. And just for the fact I've seen Rangers actually compete this time, that kind of taking them all the way and how they played and how they set up and just everything was so much better. And I said before that you're starting to see kind of signs of life with Rangers in maybe the last month or so. I thought they played the kind of more or less the same way than they did against Tottenham. So, yeah, lots of positives to take out of it, and I'm sure we'll get into them.
So is Claude the man now then?
I've always said he's the man, Michael.
Well, don't worry, we will get to that, Michael.
I'm sure we'll get into it.
What a game. What a game for Premier Sports as well.
It was just everything that Al was talking about there. It was incredible, outstanding. Premier Sport had a wee Christmas night out after it, and
really?
there was a few that were like getting a bit concerned about how long the game was taking. This is too entertaining. This game's brilliant. Let it go all the way. Let it go all the way.
It saved the bosses a fortune.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Made them a fortune and all.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it was that kind of day. But Michael, forget just Sunday, Saturday as well. What a weekend of Scottish football. It was total chaos. I think it was 23 goals in 5 games involving top flight teams. And there was drama all the way, which we'll come to. But you were taking it all in, Michael, weren't you?
Bananas. It was absolutely bananas on Saturday, just non-stop. It was like literally, from the first whistle, there was just drama every moment, and quite incredible. Some big decisions for referees as well, some controversial ones that a few of the managers are not particularly happy about. But I was at Easter Road, and I mean the first half was pure entertainment, but not down to any great quality. It was just comical how bad Hibs were, particularly in that first half. But
yeah, well, another game
they're off the bottom of the table.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, and I'm saying no panic for Hearts. Maybe there's a bit more panic again. Look, we'll get to all that. There is only one place to start, and I think it's only right we have a Celtic legend on the show, don't you? Just to talk about the game yesterday.
Sorry, might as well.
Let us bring the legend. It's Peter Grant, who I believe's in the waiting room, onto the show. There he is.
Hi guys, how are you?
Have you managed to find a device that could log you in there?
Absolutely, I couldn't believe it. I can't even work the phone. Never mind anything else.
I don't know if you can turn it long way, right? If you can,
I'm not even asking you. See if I turn it and I go off. I've tried everything else. Told me another thing I can't get it on.
Turn it, and if it works, there he is. Look,
a bit better that way. Is that
that's
better?
It, mate. We can see all of you now, Peter. How are you, mate?
Right, then. That's all right, as long as you're quite happy with that, because I've tried everything else to try to go onto you.
Well, mate, we'll keep you as long as we can keep you, because we can hear you and we can see you. How are you anyway, Peter?
Brilliant after yesterday.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. Listen, Al's still coming. It's raw. He's still coming.
No, I know. I see his face up there. I see his face of disappointment. He even blanked me yesterday at the game. So
did he?
That shows you. Yeah, he walked by me. So that's okay.
No, I apologise. I didn't see you, or I was just obviously very angry. It was one or the other.
No, this was before the game, middle of the game, and after the game. That was the 3 opportunities.
Brilliant. Anyway, Peter, look, there is only one place to start. It's another brilliant day for Brendan Rodgers, for Celtic in the end. What a game, though. Should we have a look back at some of the highlights, Peter, as we talk here? But what a game it was, wasn't it?
A fantastic game, Rangers were excellent. I thought they played really well. Probably the best I've played against Celtic in the last few years, to be perfectly honest with you. I know they won a game 3-0 a wee while back, But people saying not to be played for at that particular time. But yesterday, I thought tactically they got it right, which is one of the things I would like to say to Alan about, because I just thought him playing a natural left side or on the left-hand side of the pitch, as in somebody that would do the role defensively as well. He done it in midweek with Yilmaz.
What a moment,
yesterday.
sorry to interrupt, Peter. What a moment that was for Rangers. It could have been 2-0, that 4-on-1.
Yeah,
that was a bit. That was the opportunity. I mean, just after half time, when you get an opportunity like that, I think they do really well to kind of win it back off a Celtic. And then when it's 4v1, you have to take that opportunity. If you go 2-0 up at that moment in time, the ball gets played to Egerman and then he just can't find the right pass. I think he has to go inside the pitch, not outside. It makes it easier for Carter Vickers. But then we know what Celtic's all about and what they're capable of. And you know they're going to come back and punish you given the opportunity. But there were so many good goals within it. I think the last one, Maeda there, Raskin doesn't help Balogun out at all, and they end up getting the goal. But look, it was full of quality and spells. But I think that moment was pivotal for Rangers when they missed it.
Yeah, you must have thought at this point, Peter, that's it, game, set and match when Kuhn scores there.
Absolutely. I think this when Alan blanked me, actually, because I was looking over him at this time. But listen, I'd been saying it all the time, just before Yilmaz had come on, I thought we could get a Jeffrey because he'd been booked, obviously. And then they go straight up the park. And to be fair, Rangers' performance probably deserved it in the way they'd done it. Yet again, but I think it's bad defending for Carter Vickers, which is unusual. I think he leaves the striker. I think he should stay with him.
These, of course, Michael, defining moments, the penalty shootout, Yilmaz missed, Maeda scored. A lot's been said, actually, but the 5 brilliant Celtic penalties. We have to say that first of all. A lot's been said, Michael, about the Rangers penalty takers and those who didn't step forward in the first 5, including Cyril Dessers. And by the way, Kieran Dowell was on the pitch as well. You know, an attacker, forward-thinking player. Didn't do a lot.
Barron as well.
He didn't take one
either.
Yes, exactly. But Michael, what did you think of the fact in particular that your striker on the pitch in Dessers doesn't step up even before the goalkeeper and the left back?
I mean, look, it's a valid talking point because he's Rangers number 9. You'd expect that he's going to be stepping up and taking a penalty, but I think it just goes to highlight the whole, I was going to say saga, but the whole sort of Dessers story at Rangers, in that I'll guarantee if he steps up to take it, the Rangers supporters have got their heart in their mouth. You know, they're thinking, oh no, they would be. So
you still expect them to do it.
Of course you do, but equally, I thought Charlie came out with a good point at the game, and he was talking about how when the two sides were met each other, and there was a penalty shootout in 2016, I think it was, that he was basically almost pushing Tom Rogic to go forward and take it, and he steps up and misses it. So he was like, to a certain extent, the players have got to feel it themselves, and if Dessers is not feeling it, you can't force him into taking a penalty. But again, the whole thing highlights what is clearly a deficiency, that you can't have your main, well, I mean, he's clearly dropped in the pecking order now anyway, but you can't have your main number 9 not able to step up and take one of the first 5 penalties in a massive game like that. And, you know, Egerman's now made himself what you would regard as the main striker at Rangers. Danilo's coming back and he's fit, scores a great goal there, equalising in the last minute of the game. And you've got to say to yourself, you'd imagine that they'd be looking to try and offload Dessers, I would think. I think that's plain and simple.
They need someone to pay money.
And they'd be looking to get somebody else in the door.
Listen, January is a huge time for Rangers, and we'll come to, obviously, Patrick Stewart starting today as well. Thornton's in as well. But Peter, on Celtic, the penalty shootout, Kasper Schmeichel came up with a massive save. He's been outstanding, and there's this ongoing contract talk. There's an option for next season, but his influence in the team seems so strong, doesn't it?
Well, he's a big guy to replace, that's for sure, Darryl. You know, personality, dressing room, everything on the pitch, helping Callum through the captaincy. I definitely think Joe Hart had a massive influence on the team. So I thought it was important they went to get... You see how difficult it was the last time they tried to replace a goalkeeper. It was so difficult for them. They really struggled. But then they got Joe Hart in, and Kasper Schmeichel's come in, made big saves at big moments. Last week against Hibs in the league match, could have been 2 or 3 down, and he's had 3 big saves. Games we've won 5-0, he's had a save early in the game, you know, things like that. And I always believe that Celtic and Rangers goalkeepers always done that. The biggest thing they needed to have was concentration, and it proves that he has that in abundance. And same again yesterday, because Celtic weren't at their best, but I don't think he get the credit for the save he had for Diamonde as well. That was an unbelievable save.
Incredible save, wasn't it? Incredible.
And Celtic never really got out after that, if you remember, because it went for a corner, then went out the opposite side for another corner, and Celtic were caught twice. And that's where the ball got put back in again for the goal. So we never really recovered from it. But he's been outstanding, and thoroughly deserves the accolades he's getting. And it's a big personality. And it's such an important place. You look at Craig Gordon, what he's doing for Hearts.
Yeah.
Age for the goalkeeper is slightly different now. Their personalities and that are different now. The way they look after themselves is completely different. You're not going to get Peter Latchford anymore. That's for sure. No, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. You've got to be athletic. You've got to be all these things. You've got to train as hard as outfield players, which they always did in a different way. But the way they've got to take part in everything, and you can see that in the fitness with these older goalkeepers, not just in Scotland, but all over Europe now.
I'm thinking back to the Dortmund game, and I actually, it was fairly early on in the season, and I thought to myself, I think Kasper Schmeichel was looking a wee bit, the age that he is. And ever since, and that's the only game this season, to be honest, because since then, he's come up with, as Peter's talking about, big, big saves. But at that point, I did think to myself, I thought, this is a real stopgap. Now, a complete 180, I'm thinking to myself, I would be astonished if he wasn't there next season and they trigger that extension. Obviously, the club can do it if they want, but they're going to only do it if Kasper Schmeichel's wanting to play on. And I think, again, I'd go back to, I'd be astonished if he wasn't wanting to play another season at Celtic. So they need to obviously try and find a long-term solution, because Joe Hart felt as if it was the end of his career, but they got 3 years out of him. Kasper Schmeichel, I would imagine, is going to stay for another year. But they need to try and find somebody that's going to give them a bit more longevity in goals. But at the moment, certainly, they've got another top-class keeper that they can rely on, because he comes up with big, big saves.
Yeah, and I know Joe Hart was talking to Kasper Schmeichel and his dad ahead of the game in Zagreb, and from what Joe said, it doesn't sound like Kasper has any intention of stopping and slowing down at all. He wants to play on, and why wouldn't you, the way he's playing at the moment? And you're right, that night in Dortmund, maybe everyone in the Celtic team was a bit shell-shocked, and maybe a couple that he could have saved, but he also made some big saves that night as well. It could have been even worse for Celtic. Look, just before we completely...
Back to that as well, Darryl, but on that, you've got to remember, when he went to Anderlecht and never stayed there so long, and he went to Nice, never stayed there so long. So Michael's right, there is a bit of worry then, because you're thinking, that's strange, he's had 2 quick turnarounds after a long period at Leicester. Has he lost that wee bit of hunger and desire? I think he's proven yet again, and I agree with Michael, in Dortmund, I thought the ones up at the front post, ones that was coming in between, the penalty kick, I know it was a penalty kick, but it was really straight at him, I thought. And you thought these things like that, but by God, he's answered all the questions really well.
Maybe he's found a home, Peter, that he wants to stay. We'll see. We'll see. Just before I move on, because another big talking point in the game, clearly, Alan, don't worry, we will come to it. But Peter, you've praised Rangers.
I'm just waiting patiently.
What did you think, Peter, overall, of the Celtic performance?
Celtic have played much better. There is no doubt of that. But I'm always loath to say that, because I just think Rangers were different. I think Rangers deserve credit for the way they went about their business. I thought yesterday was probably the first time the managers picked a team to try and have a go at Celtic. He didn't, but I don't think it was he was a manager at the time, and they won 3-0. The time they beat Celtic 3-0 when Cantwell played as a 10 and Ibrox and Celtic had already won the league. This was the first time I thought he picked a team. I said the other night there, I thought he should play Barami in the number 10 position. Since the boy came in the door, he said, I'm a number 10, that's my favourite position. And the one thing he's got is pace. And the one thing you would probably say against Callum McGregor is not the greatest pace. So once Celtic move out of position and you've got somebody with Barami's pace to make their runs, I think it's a problem. So the manager done that, and it was who was going to play on the left-hand side. Was he going to play Yilmaz as he did with Jeffrey? I thought after the game on Thursday night, I thought he'd maybe need to change his team, which he'd already in his head, because Rangers had done so well. But I thought they'd done so well against the ball, but still had looked a threat going forward and created chances. And I thought, yet again, you've got Anis Hadji, since he's come back in the side, he's been a big player for them. But they two, Barami and Anis Hadji's role allows Raskin and Diamonde to play central, because I think Rangers midfield's always been open when they play three in there, no matter who they play. Because the left-hand side guy always wants to go and join the centre forwards. Yesterday that didn't happen, and that allowed them to contain Celtic. And it happened with the goal, Greg Taylor going square, because Rangers' positional play, where they were, force it square across the back, and then we'll try and pounce, and that's exactly what happened.
Raskin's hit an absolute purple patch at the moment. He's been excellent the last few weeks, Alan. And you have to say Yanis Hadji as well fitness levels to stay on throughout the game and to do the running he did, considering he's not had that much football.
Exactly.
I was surprised. Were you surprised, Alan?
Yeah, I was. I mean, but it just probably shows you the character of the boy, that he's kept himself to those standards and those fitness levels, because he's been out of the team for such a long period of time. And you think back to when he first came on, then he gets sent off, and then he had to miss a game, and then he can't play in Europe. So he was ready for this game. He knows he has to stand up and be counted, which he was. So look, I think everything Granty says there is spot on. Rangers looked to set traps. They tried not to allow Cal McGregor to get on the ball. And when they did, they kind of tried to jump all over it, like they done against Tottenham, quick passes through to try and make something happen. Rangers had to change something to try and compete. Too many games, it's been the same kind of Rangers, as you say, they're kind of open, they get played through easy. So they didn't allow that to happen. But Hadji coming in, I think he links up really well with Danilo. Igaman likes to move about. It's not very static the way it has been with Dessers. Maybe a ball going up to him, try and make him create something. It's something different. There's a lot of interchange and movement, moving parts, and I think that helps them break them down. So, look, Rangers are getting better over the last month or so. There's still a lot to go, don't get me wrong, but I think we're starting to see signs of what maybe Clement felt he would get earlier on. It's just taking a little bit more time in the likes of Danilo to be fit, Hadji to come back into the fold, Igaman to start getting going. So hopefully it can continue.
He stayed loyal to a lot of players, remember, for a long time this season, the manager.
Yeah.
On that, Darryl, could I ask a question to Alan on that? Because see, when you're talking about, do you think the manager deserves criticism because he didn't play Hadji? I know there was a contractual situation, but surely you're still paying his wages anyway, and you never brought him into the team. He was playing for the B team, he was doing all that.
Yeah.
And Bayami said from day one that he was a number 10, and he kept playing him on the left-hand side. I think the manager deserves criticism for that, because if that's my best players and I'm getting the criticism that he has been getting from everyone, surely he's got to demand that if these boys are fit, they have to play.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I
understand.
He also stuck with Dessers a long time when many people were saying, try something different. Eggman popped in and out the team. He said he was a development project. Lawrence as well. I know he got injured, Alan, but he was sticking with him a lot. And even Tavernier had his struggles.
Yeah, no, but look, it is what it is. Sometimes Tavernier's a different kind of case in point, but I think when you look at certain players like Hadji, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs. I heard that it was due to money reasons. If he was to play X amount of games, he would be getting X amount more, which they couldn't afford. So between the club and the player, they had to come to some sort of agreement where that wouldn't happen. That they obviously came to an agreement. He's back in the fold. He's playing. He's looked after himself, and I think he's been a huge difference in terms of you play the ball up to him. He can see a pass. He can slide somebody in. He's a clever player. He's 2-footed. He gives you something a little bit different. So look, I think it can be a real grey area when we're starting to talk about contracts and stuff. I think maybe the manager's hands were a little bit tied. I mean, Grant, you probably know a little bit better than I do, because I've never really been in those situations where you have to make those decisions. It might be a club thing, but look, moving forward, it's another option that he's got.
Peter, are you suggesting, or maybe what you're saying here, the point you're saying, the manager knew the situation, and if you remember, he came out and spoke about it earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting
he signed a new contract? The manager signed a new contract.
He did. Are you suggesting that maybe Clement could have fought a little bit harder for Hadji if it was a board issue to make sure it got resolved?
As soon as the transfer window was closed in August, he can't go anywhere. So he's sitting there, and he's one of their best players. There is absolutely no doubt of that. When he receives possession of the ball, he faces the opposition. He's always done that. He just needed fitness levels. Obviously, he had a bad injury, but he was fit because he was playing for the B team. I just couldn't understand once the transfer window had shut, because the boy's going nowhere then. Doesn't matter what the contract situation is. And you've got to remember, Rangers gave him the contract. But if I'm Philippe Clement, and it's my player, and I see the quality he's got, and Alan spoke about it, Michael spoke about it, he's a talented boy. He gives you something different. He looks forward. And I thought defensively, because I didn't know what he would be like yesterday playing that left-hand side, but he was rigid in his work defensively. He done it really, really well. So it shows you he's got a good football brain as well. It doesn't went different, because I always thought that was a problem for them, because they left that exposed, running across the line, and Celtic's right back was always an out ball every single time they played Rangers, because the left-hand sided boy didn't want to play there. So you've got to give Hadji great credit. But if I'm Philippe Clement and I'm the manager, once that transfer window shut and he's going nowhere, he's got to be backing my plans as long as he's behaving the top professional. And I think you can see the shape the boy's in. He's obviously done that.
Okay, let's get Michael back in the show. Alan, I was going to give this to you, but let's get Michael back in the show. Michael, Rangers denied a penalty. There wasn't even much talk about it at the time, but VAR surely should have had a closer look at this, Michael.
Well, as soon as it happened, I'm thinking that's a penalty, or at least it is incredibly close. So the fact is that it's not like an incident that VAR could miss. The incident is there. It's there for all to see. A free kick's been given. So all VAR has to really check here is Czerny in the box at any point when Scales is pulling his shots? And the answer to that is yes. It's a penalty kick. And this is a perfect example of how when VAR or referees or TV and pundits, anything like that, can frame a debate massively, and that really sort of drifted by without a great deal of scrutiny until afterward, and folks start talking about it then. But at the time, it's a no-brainer. It's quite incredible that VAR missed that. It's
and as you said, Michael, as you said before we went live, it's actually factual. The ref didn't actually have to go and have a look. VAR could have advised them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say to you was, this is a situation where the referee doesn't need to come over to look at a screen. VAR just needs to tell him that's not a foul. It's not a free kick. It's a penalty because Czerny's in the box. Obviously, the law being you pull a jersey or the shorts. If it's outside the box and continues into the box,
it's a penalty
kick. Simple as that.
Yeah. I thought there would have been more made of it. I mean, we were doing, me and Lenny were obviously doing the co-coms, and we didn't see a lot of it. It happened quite quickly, and the game kind of moved on. It wasn't until after then we were going down and we were talking about it, and we get brought in and we had a real good look at it, a chance to go over it and over it. And I'm with Michael. I think as a defender, if you're pulling outside the box and it continues in the box, and by the way, the line counts as in the box, then it's a foul and it's a penalty kick. So I don't understand why it wasn't. Was there a nervousness to give it at such a big time within the game? I mean, I don't know what it was, but that's why they're there to make the big decisions. And for me, it's a penalty kick.
Are you suggesting that Lenny swayed you in co-coms there, Al?
Lenny was like, don't look at that. Just let's carry on. Like, the game's down there.
Huge moment for Michael, isn't it?
That incident is a perfect example of what Rangers were doing. Every time Celtic were looking to go from one centre-half to the other or into a midfielder and out to the other centre-half, the whole front line just was on their bike pushing. It's where the goal comes from, the first goal. If you actually look at the first goal, as soon as Greg Taylor steps in field and Bayrami is sitting on Cal McGregor, not only Bayrami is charging forward to cut it out, Hadji, who's on the outside of him, is on his bike as well. So even if the ball does go to Carter Vickers, Hadji is going to be right up on top of him. It's the same thing with the goal there. As soon as the free kick instead of the penalty, as soon as that ball going from Carter Vickers over to Scales, Czerny's already on his bike to go and shut him down. And that was an extra time.
That's probably why they've brought on Scales, though, no? So he would actually be able, because you think, see the way Rangers were playing and trying to cover Cal McGregor, because every Old Firm game I ever watched, he runs it. So they've obviously came with a plan to try and stop that. Trusty goes off at half-time. And into the second half, you just seen Scales stepping forward as if to take that out of it. But that was Rangers' game plan. It was to try and get the centre-halves to play it so they can get in, catch them. And how many times? They've done it a lot. I keep going back to the Spurs game because they've done this the exact same to Spurs as well. Yeah. So, I mean...
That was Peter. There was Peter just sending in his message there. You just saw him go off. Opinionated Glaswegian. That's actually Peter's burner account. He's just sent that message in about Rangers getting all those decisions over the years. Listen,
but
Peter, we've said...
I never seen it.
Yeah, listen, the opinionated Glaswegian was suggesting Rangers maybe have had the rub of the green, so to speak, down the years. Maybe it was about time Celtic won. I don't know. I think that's what he was saying. But anyway, listen, Peter, we've said so much about the game and Rangers and that incident. Overall for Celtic, another trophy in a season where they're going well in the Champions League. What a campaign this could end up being for Brendan Rodgers, for Celtic, if they can continue going at this pace.
Absolutely. Listen, signs of big teams, they don't play at their best and they still win. It's so important. It doesn't matter how you win the character. They showed a different side of them yesterday, which they've not been asked a lot of questions. To be fair, Rangers are probably the first. People will talk about Aberdeen early in the season, the 2-2 game. To be perfectly honest, Celtic gave them a bit of doing. It was 2-2, but it could have been anything. Aberdeen done brilliant to come back, no problem. Yesterday was the first time that I felt somebody had a go at them in the respect of were organised really well. I thought he slightly changed his shape to his team, and it obviously you're saying Celtic had to find a way to get there and to get back into it. I agree with the boys were saying there. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking Rangers are setting us up to play square. The couple of times it let us in the first half, if you remember, over the full-back's head, Nicholas Kuhn, 1v1 with Proper, all of a sudden. Why did he not do that more often? We never changed the way we were playing and we still gave Rangers opportunities, and Rangers smelt that. So it was working for them, and great credit to them. But, as you said, Celtic found a way to keep going and keep digging in. And that group of players, the guys that come on the pitch, they know how to win. And that is the difference. They know how to win. Rangers done really well compared to where they have been. There is no doubt about that. But yet again, Celtic still find themselves coming out on top. And that's great character. And it takes a big performance for Schmeichel if we save for the penalty kick. But you need all these things. Guys will tell you they've played in cup finals and know what it's like. You have to ride your luck at times. Celtic, you say, maybe get a bit fortunate with the penalty kick. That's football. I was playing in a cup final, we got a penalty kick against us the exact same way when the pulling started outside the box. And it's interesting, Michael says, when it continues in the box, that's the problem. We used to think if it started outside the box, that's where the free kick was given. Now you see it yesterday, you think, oh, right, okay. And I was panicking, I must admit. But the bottom line is, they found a way to do it. And these boys deserve great credit for it, because it's not easy to continue to keep winning when everybody's trying, because you're there to be knocked, and that is a special type of character, and the boys have showed that consistently, so you've got to give them great credit. But, as I say, Rangers pushed them close yesterday, but it wasn't close enough. Celtic still came out on top, and that what makes you champions.
We've got a lot to get through, by the way. Peter, I'm going to let you go in a couple of minutes because I've got this vision of you holding onto your phone here, mate, and that arm. Remember the Paris Olympics? Remember the rain in the Paris Olympics and somebody holding that brolly next to the speaker for about an hour? I could feel the sweat coming off them. Listen,
hey, don't worry, I don't mind talking to you guys. It's all right. I'll tell you another thing.
Right, we'll push on for a lot, but I'll let you go in a couple of minutes anyway, okay? Because I don't want to keep you. You're happy, right? He's happy to stay anyway. Right, just before we completely move on, so we'll keep Peter in, okay? I'm just letting Jamie, the producer, know. Do not sign Peter out. He doesn't want to go anywhere, okay?
I'll not be back if you do. I'll not be back if you do.
Keep him on. Keep him on for the rest of the chat. Look, just finally, before we move on, Fraser Thornton starting his role as Rangers chairman today, Alan. Patrick Stewart in officially today as well. You feel that Celtic, well, they've certainly got the resources, but you feel that Celtic, given the Champions League form, this league phase continuing into January, you feel like they might strengthen again in January and get even better. So Rangers need to try and keep up and keep pace. What if Rangers could add something in January? What, in your opinion, do you think it would be that they could add that would make them better right now? What's the key ingredient you think for January for them, Al?
What a question that is. I mean,
well, listen, there's a chairman, there's a chief exec starting, so they might be listening.
Yeah, no, but first and foremost, I mean, I think it's good for the club. It needs stability. I mean, that's the first thing. It's taken too long, in my opinion, to get to this situation. But if they really want to go and fight and be at the top level, I mean, Michael spoke about Dessers. If he's not the guy, do they need a guy in who's going to score a lot of goals? I mean, you think centre half, it's been a problem when Suter's not been fit. I mean, I think you can kind of go through a few areas and think they need to go up a level, but it's whether they're going to get the money to do so or not. So look, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know an awful lot about them. They've got a big job in their hands, so look, we'll see what they're going to do in the coming months.
So basically, he wants another fullback, a centre half, he wants another striker, a couple of midfielders and a winger.
Who doesn't? Ask Granty, who's been there in managerial situation. Why would you not want that? You need it. You look, for me, look, is Rangers getting closer? Yes. Is there still a gap? Yes, there is. And to get to that level, to compete like that regularly, consistently, you need competition all over the place within your squad. And I think that Rangers still lack a bit of that.
First protocol, they need a talisman that's going to lead the line, score goals. I mean, I genuinely think the whole situation that surrounds Dessers, and it's almost like a comedy factor amongst some supporters. The amount of like memes and jokes that go about. It's brutal.
You keep on sending them out.
It's not.
See you in that Twitter.
But the world can be brutal at times. But Rangers need a guy that they can hang their hat on as their number 9. And Egeman is, come in and done all right now. But he's no somebody that you're going to say he's the main boy for like the next however long. Danilo's had his injury problems, and Dessers just isn't the answer. So they need to get somebody who they can basically say, he's our main striker. Celtic have got Kyogo, they've got Ida to come in behind them, and they've got many other alternatives and options that they can actually rotate that front line. They've got stability.
The man for now, though, Michael, is looking like the man. He keeps scoring.
I mean, he's definitely. I mean, look, there's no doubt that he's come in and done well this last wee spell. Hence why he's leading the line. But I wouldn't be guaranteeing that he would be, the guy that from January onwards is just going to be their main striker. He's still raw. He's a
guy that plays with freedom. He likes to move about and link up and kind of run in behind, come shot. He likes trying a wee trick here and there. I know what you're saying, Michael. You want that guy, but he's going to score 20, 25 goals a season. He's your guy. One of the first names in the team sheet when he's fit. I totally get that. And they've not really had that for a while. So it's something that they need to address. But again, do they have the money to do so?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that's the biggest thing they need. They'll need an investor more than a player, because they're not going to be able to afford these guys that everybody talks about. Yeah, everybody knows what you want. As a manager, you know what you want to make your team improve and win trophies and get closer to Celtic. Because let's be honest, being second in Glasgow or Scotland means nothing. So you have to try and get there. That is your benchmark. How do you get there? To get there quickly, you need a big investor. If you can't get there, you're building a team. But if you look at Celtic's squad compared to Rangers' squad, there's still a massive gulf.
That's a good.
You talk about Ida. Michael, what was he? 9 million. Is Rangers going to spend something like that for
no
chance? It's not starting.
No chance, Peter. Not just now.
Darryl, I mean, that fundamentally, we're just talking about the team and what do they need. But Peter's absolutely spot on. When you look at it, I think Rangers' turnover was about 80 odd million. Celtic's was 120. That's a 50% uplift. And Celtic made a massive profit and Rangers lost 17 million. So you're talking about a gulf that is huge, right? But the perception is, as Peter just said, in terms of second is just nowhere. But the reality is that Rangers at the moment are nowhere near the club that Celtic are. They can't financially compete. They've tried to bridge that gap in the last decade, and they managed to win the league in that 1 year. But I'm struggling to see how they are going to be able to bridge that gap financially to be able to compete every year, genuinely compete. I don't know how they do that.
Darryl, I even seen that message? No, but I seen that message that popped up, and this is what I'm going to. It needs to be sustainable, because it was. Remember, we spoke about rinse and repeat. They got rid of, was it 6 or 7 players to lower the wage bill, and they brought in something like 800 grand.
That was it, 800 grand.
These are that's one of their main problems here. They buy players for a lot of money, they give them good contracts, it doesn't work out, and they sell them for less. And then you need to go and replace them, and you just keep going round this circle, and it's never ending. They need to break it at some point in time. That's why I thought they would stick with the manager, because if they keep just changing all the time, you just stay in the same place.
But it also tells you as well, Rangers had a bigger wage bill than Celtic last year.
Yeah, they must have.
No, but that's quite incredible.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy. How can Rangers be in the state they were in and have a bigger wage bill than Celtic? So it tells you then, comes to good recruitment. And to be fair to Ange, bringing the boys from Japan, who none of us had heard, were probably Matt O'Reilly. You look at all these guys coming in who were excellent and done fantastically well. And to be fair to us as Celtic supporters, are question. I was fortunate enough, I'd worked with Matt, so I knew Matt, and I knew he was a quality player. There is no doubt of that. But I'm trying to sell that to Celtic supporters when he's coming for MK Dons. So the players are there. You have to be able to work out there and go out and find them. But it's not just that football player. Obviously, Alan played at Rangers. He knows it takes more than that to being a good player. Can you handle the pressure of walking through the doors every week, every day? Can you take that? And they've got that to still to build on. You know what I mean? These boys are different now. It's not as if it was like when I played, it was probably most of the Glaswegians that was in the team. You know what I mean? And you what Rangers were all about. You've got to understand that side of it as well. And that's not easy to find.
No.
For the guys for that. Celtic done remarkably well. But the point I'm making is how Rangers could have had a bigger wage bill than Celtic was quite incredible.
It's astonishing. It's astonishing you can mention Carter Vickers, by the way, Alistair Johnson, the players that Ange brought in, the successes were incredible. Listen, we've got to move on. We're 35 minutes in. We've got loads of other games to get through. I don't know how long this show's going to last.
4 million goals.
The producers are going to be going mental, Premier Sports. They've got to get this on the telly and find a slot. Right, Michael, on to Kilmarnock against Hearts. Really important win for Kilmarnock. I thought you were frozen for a second there with the head down. He's with us. Let's get on.
He must be looking something up. He's looking something up.
He's looking for my phone.
He's just checking his stats. He's looking at the wage bill there, Peter, just to check you were factually correct there. Michael, not a good day for Neil Critchley and Hearts. Not been a good week for them either. But Kilmarnock, having gone down to 10 again to see this through. This was a huge win for Derek McInnes, wasn't it? And Killy.
Aye, monumental for a game against obviously a side that's down at the bottom of the table, battling again, against Kilmarnock, who were down there as well. So huge, but because of the context of the game, going down to 10 men after I think it was like 4 minutes actually.
Yeah,
and then to get the victory, just massive. But I mean, look.
That's as close as Hearts came, by the way, to really scoring in the second half. So they toiled at times, Michael.
They toiled. I mean, Kelly were down to 10 men, but they had plenty chances. And Neil Critchley obviously came out and was very critical of the Hearts' performance. Hearts' next 4 games are going to define this season. They've got Petro Cup on Thursday, and if they don't qualify out of this group stage, it's got to be viewed as a massive, massive failure. After taking 6 points out of 6 to begin with, the draw's been pretty good because Heidenheim, from the Bundesliga, but they weren't a Bundesliga heavyweight. And Hearts performed well in the first half at Tynecastle, but they ended up losing the game. Cercle Bruges were bang average, and Hearts were worse, and they obviously lost the game. And then Copenhagen's the only real side that you would look at and go, they were quality. But Hearts even made them look better than they are. And now they've got Petro Cup, who I think are second bottom in the group stage. And if they don't get through on that, it's going to be a disaster. Followed by 3 league games against the 3 teams that are directly above them in the league. You've got St Johnstone at home, the Derby at home, and then Ross County away before the end of the year. So by the turn of the year, we will have a far greater idea of what's going to happen at Hearts. And it's concerning. I mean, Neil Critchley's been in, I think he's had 12 games now. 12 games, I think it is. And
3 league wins, I think it is, out of 9.
Sorry?
3 league wins out of 9.
3 league wins out of 9, yep. That's it. That's not great. He's only, I think when you look at he won the first 2 games against St Mirren and Ammonia. Good performances and good wins. But since then, it's been 1 win in 11. 1 win in 11.
And Frankie Kent's out now for months as well, Michael. There's question marks over fitness of certain players. Yeah, look, the analytics need to come good in January.
I was going to say that as the supercomputer worked. What do you think, Michael? Has it worked or not?
Do you know, this is a good point though, because look, Neil Critchley, with the greatest of respect, everybody was underwhelmed with the appointment. He's not got off to a brilliant start with the results here. Performances had a little bit of an uptick, but there's been some pretty poor performances in there of late as well. And if he's not going to show the capability of turning things around, the question marks of those that are making these decisions is massive.
So, Michael, is he under pressure? Is he under pressure then? You mentioned the next 4 games. If that doesn't go well.
Well, I think so. That's it. I think the next 4 games really does define the season. And if it doesn't go well, then I think pressure is going to be there. But the point is,
Michael, he's also inherited a team, by the way, Michael. He's inherited a team, right? There's a lot of talent in that team. Obviously, Shanklin wasn't available at the weekend. And it looks like in January, he's not going to get to identify the players that he wants necessarily, because analytics are playing that part. So from the manager, his hands are also slightly tied at the moment.
No, this is what I'm going to say to you about the data, right? It's all well and good having all this data, but it's who's interpreting it. Who's interpreting it? That's the key thing here. Neil Critchley was high up on their data, and from what I was led to believe, there was a little bit of anxiety amongst the people at the club because it was a bit of a left field one here. They knew there was going to be a little bit of criticism, but they felt beholden to Jamestown Analytics because they had identified this guy and they felt like they couldn't say no to it. So then it throws up the question, who's running the club? Who's running the club? Who's making the decisions? So you can have the data, but who's actually interpreting it and who's making the decisions? And I've been questioning the Hearts board for a good wee while that so many good things being done off the park, but when it comes to the football side of it, questionable at best.
Peter, it should be an exciting time for the club as well with this European group stage or league phase campaign, which could end in qualification, which would bring more money into the football club. And this money coming from Tony Bloom as well. It should be a really exciting time.
Absolutely. I mean, the Brighton money coming in with Tony Bloom and the job that they've done, wherever they've been, has been fantastic. The one thing that concerns me about all the computers and whatever, do they know the background of Hearts? The biggest thing about Hearts, how do Hearts play? What do Hearts supporters expect? They expect fire in the belly, they want tackles, they want crosses coming in the box, they want shots at goal. Some managers don't play that way. Neil, I know Neil for a long time down south. He wants his teams to play. Everybody does now. But Tynecastle's slightly different. And that's why I think when you're looking at a manager, what way does his team play? Is that a Hearts background? Yeah, that Neil Critchley's teams play exceptionally good football, blah, blah, blah. But this is the type of manager we need, because this is the type. Like a Sean Dyche going into, for instance, for throwing a name there, the way he plays, that's more a Hearts type of manager, I believe, than a Neil Critchley is, if you understand what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah.
They play forward, they play positive, they get crosses, they get bodies in the box. That's what Tynecastle likes, because they like to be rocking on that. The supporters feed off that. But it's somebody with a slow build-up maybe, or trying to play through. That's different. And that maybe comes out different when you're talking about somebody selecting a manager. But is it the right fit for Hearts? That's the question I would ask. And it doesn't mean Neil's not a good manager, coach, whatever, because I've seen his teams play for Liverpool and whatever right through, and they're very good in the eye. But is that what Hearts need? And I'm not
Time will
sure
tell.
that's the Hearts type of manager.
Time will tell, Peter. And Michael's right. The next 2 games are massive. They've got to win on Thursday. Go on, Michael. Last one on this.
I'm just going to say, you can see that Neil Critchley knows football. There is no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
What
He's a
Peter
good guy.
says, what Peter says is absolutely spot on. Being the Hearts manager, that place can be toxic at times in terms of the pressure for our opponents, but also for the home side. And I said this before, Hearts needed desperately some experience and stability to run the football side of the club. And Neil Critchley, by his own admission, is talking about how this is the biggest job he's ever had. He's almost exuding a lack of confidence in his own position. And that, to me, is the exact opposite of what Hearts were needing. And the next 4 games are going to define this season for Hearts.
I know what you're saying. I've actually spoken to Neil a few times. I've interviewed him a few times since he's come in, and the performances have, on the whole, been better. But Michael, I think he was just being honest. He seems like a really reasonable guy. He was being honest when he was asked the question. So, but anyway, yeah.
No, listen. I know he's been honest. My point is, sometimes experience, you know how to answer a question, not by being untruthful. It's by framing it in a different way. Saying something like that doesn't breed confidence. So you just don't talk about that. You can talk about how big a club and how excited you are without undermining your own position, is all I'm trying to say.
Fair point. No, fair point. Onwards. Al, what a game at Fir Park. 4-3 Motherwell against Dundee United. It had a bit of everything if we look at these highlights.
Yeah, it was really good. I think from a Motherwell's point of view, I mean, back-to-back wins, I think they deserved it. I thought they worked the ball really well from wide areas. Coletta, I think I've seen him a few times now. I was really impressed. Here, I mean, is a bit of a soft one. He gets asked to go and look at that, but I don't think there's an awful lot in it, to be quite honest. Gives him another opportunity to get back on level terms there. But I think defensively, Dundee United balls into the box. I think they struggled on this afternoon. But look, I had a little bit of everything. As you see, penalties, incidents, goals, and 2 teams that we've spoken about Dundee United, how well they've done this season. An opportunity, 4th between 5th. Motherwell jump up a place, and look, just had a little bit of everything. 7 goals. I mean, you can't beat it as a fan, or a neutral anyway, but had everything.
Good young Scottish
with some
manager.
of the struggles. Go on, Mike. Yeah, no, I know you've talked about Stuart Kettlewell a lot.
Stuart Kettlewell, and by the way, he was getting a little bit of criticism.
He was in the stand, wasn't he?
Well, yeah,
he was.
Yeah, he was. He was getting a wee bit of criticism from some punters saying that the style hadn't been great the last wee while.
What a goal this is. Oof.
And then came back, and on Saturday, the performance was very good. The passing, the goals, the energy in the team. It was a brilliant performance with Motherwell. And, he was on the radio and he was fighting his corner and he was talking about how since he's been in the job, it's only Rangers and Celtic that have picked up more points, and Aberdeen just marginally. Now, I don't know if that's still true after the weekend's results, but they were sitting fourth in the table. And he was saying, from Motherwell's perspective, he's not sure what else could be expected. They've lost their best players, in the 2 windows, the summers that he's been there, their top goal scorers. He's replaced them. He's brought in Stamilopoulos now, who looks like he could be, a goal scorer as well after having lost Bear and Spittle. I think Masmanisi is a great outlet, rapid, and he creates as well. So he clearly has an eye for a player as well. He has an identity in terms of what he wants from his team. He's not ideological. He'll mix things up. I think he's a very, very good young manager that deserves a lot of credit.
I think you're 100% right there, Michael. Michael Senior's very important. These guys have got to change their squads every season.
Yeah.
Because somebody's always out of contract and you can't afford to keep him if he's doing well for you.
Peter, you've got first-hand experience of this.
It's so difficult. When you're below that standard, people come and pick your players off. And then you've got to go again and try and find it. And maybe the standard's not there. The guy, Stevie Robinson, St Mirren, the exact same. The job they do is phenomenal, being able to get these players in. Because the boys will tell you, Al's been doing in England, Michael's been doing in England. The guys in non-leaguer down there are getting much more money than the boys that are playing in the Premier League at Motherwell, St Mirren, all these guys playing in the non-league. So trying to get them to come here, we could all make their teams better, but they can't afford to because the clubs can't afford it. And I think they deserve great credit for sticking in. Stuart, was it 17 games last year? So you gave the board credit for sticking with him then last year. And then this season didn't have a great start, and then they stuck with him again. So fantastic. Great credit to them as well. But he deserves it because he's trying to build a team every season. Yeah,
picking up players at value. You're right. Sam Dalby's a good example of it. Dundee United. Michael, onwards again, because now we're into this hour slot. We've gone past 47 minutes. I don't know what.
Daryl's just panicked.
And we need to get on with this. Michael, Hibs against Ross County. You mentioned it earlier on in the show. So much chat on this social club about David Gray and Hibs throughout this season. They needed this as well. This maybe is another one of these defining results, and it looks like they're on the upturn after going behind.
I think if you come away from this game thinking that Hibs are on the upturn, then...
I'm talking about recent results. They're picking up more points because we've said how much they've struggled picking up points earlier this season. I know the performances aren't necessarily what you would want yet, Michael.
Look, I agree 100% with you. What I'm trying to say is that that's a home game against Ross County, who have won. They've won one in the last 14 months away from home. They'd scored 1 goal away from home this season, and in the first half, they should have scored probably about 3. So, as much as it's definitely a huge victory, it propelled them up to 8th. Kelly have obviously won, which isn't putting them back down to 9th now. But there are so many things and aspects in this performance that really do leave me still anxious about the season ahead for Hibs. Because
just briefly, just tell us then, what is it? I mean, thank goodness VAR's got that one right, by the way.
Defensively.
Yes. So what's the biggest area of concern going forwards for you here?
Goalkeeper in defence.
Jordan Smith made a couple of big saves, didn't he?
What, sorry?
Jordan Smith made a couple of big saves in the game, did he not?
He did, but he also still looked extremely nervous. So that's my point. If you look at the headline in terms of 3-1 victory at home, keeper made a few good saves. I think you're sort of just kidding yourself on a little bit because just lurking under the surface there is a lot of concern. I think they need a goalkeeper in defence. If you don't have a good goalkeeper in good defence, you're building on shaky foundations and it's never going to last. And that for me is Hibs. Yes, they're still, they're lacking goal threat as well. But they've got Kieran Bowie in there who will eventually come back from injury, but they need a goalkeeper and a defence to actually start to build some strong foundations.
Alan, any concern about Hibs? Because there was a lot of talk about Hearts last week. You weren't sure. Hibs, do you think they've got enough about them? to be clear of this relegation fight?
Do you know, I thought from the Aberdeen game, I seen kind of signs of life, a little bit of character, and I think Michael's right. I mean, look, I only seen the extended highlights, but Ross County could have been up 2 early doors, and I think they allow Hibs back into it at a good time going into half-time. So, of course, there's still a worry there. I think going forward, they have got ability if everybody clicks at the right moment in time, but I just think they've got that kind of soft underbelly where they do concede goals, and it is a big problem. And then I hope they can build on what I've seen so far, because even against Celtic, right, they got beat, but I think there was a lot of positives to come from it, and that was at Celtic Park. But they need to take it into the games like the Ross County and these ones that are all round about them. They need to be beating them. So overall, I think the 3 points is massive, because I think that's what it's about at this moment in time, is picking up the points. But long term, it has to be much better.
Okay, final game, Peter. I'll give this one to you then. St Johnstone 2, St Mirren 3. St Mirren, they've had a bit of drama to deal with in recent games, haven't they? Because they've conceded late. This time they score late. You'll be delighted to see a goal in here for Evan Mooney as well, a 17-year-old on his second appearance for the club. I know you love to see young players doing well, Peter, but this is a huge win for St Mirren and a blow for St Johnstone.
Absolutely. Fantastic pass for the goal. You know, you look at it and you think to yourself, great play. They're starting to knock the ball about. But there were so many incidents in the game. You know, you 2 teams playing against you which are similar, but they're just reactions all the time. And I just thought they looked so good. Both teams tried to win it. And that's what I liked about the game when I watched the highlights of the game. But when you watch the VAR, I'm thinking, why does he go out and turn his back?
Oh, it's shocking, isn't it? Just take it in the face.
But even, I know the boys mishit the ball, but I'm saying, why is he turning his back? I just cannot believe at that time in the game. Then you think they've got away with it with obviously the keeper saving, but he's obviously came about 2 or 3 yards off his line. You're thinking to yourself, what a chance, an opportunity. And Stevie Robinson at the side of the pitch cannot believe his luck. You know, 19+9 was it? But young boy coming into the team, very good striker play, because he never stood when the ball went over his head for a young man. I think he's only turned 17.
Yeah,
he's in there across the centre back. Yeah, as a defender, you'd be crying. As the defensive coach, you'd be thinking, why is he not reacting the same way as a striker? But great credit to the young man, and hopefully it's the first of many for him.
Yeah. Michael, that just rounds off a remarkably crazy weekend, eh?
That's unbelievable. And by the way, there was an absolute madness in the Championship as well. I know we're not going to look at it, but Ayr against
that's an hour and a half we need if we start doing the Championship highlights. And Peter's still holding that phone, by the way. He is a stalwart. He is a legend.
I've got one of these false arms. I've got one of these false arms that's holding it now.
Yeah. Oh, listen, there's a few nice comments coming in about you here at the bottom. You might have seen a moment ago, the wee Grante, wee Mikey Lovin. Maybe there's been a bit of that, but there's a lot of your Celtic stalwart and legend and stuff coming in from Jim a second ago and others. Always nice to hear, isn't it, Peter? To get a bit of praise.
It'll be the first time in my life.
You don't get much in this show, I'll tell you.
Exactly.
Anyway, listen, we're way past the 45 minutes I was told not to go beyond, and Peter does need a rest for that. So, Peter, so good to see you, mate. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
See you all soon.
See you soon.
Al,
guys.
I know you're in a period of recovery, but we'll let you get back.
I'm fine now. I'm all right now.
Good. And Michael, thank you very much indeed. We're back in the Social Club next Monday. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.